Welcome to a conversation with a community leader, sponsored by Leadership Kitsap. I'm Cary, Bozeman, your host, and I'm the former mayor of the city of Bremerton, and I'm a Port of Bremerton commissioner. And my guest today has been a leader in our community for quite a while and has had a variety of different leadership roles in our community. It's James Weaver. James, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
James' current role, of many that he's had here, is the Director of Marine Facilities at the Port of Bremerton.
And it's been a great opportunity.
Yeah.
Really have been had a lot of interesting work.
We're going to have a conversation about boating and about the company you work for, the Port of Bremerton and its marinas, and about the industry in general and what's going on with it. But where are you from? What's your background? What brought you here?
Well, I love the Pacific Northwest. I wasn't born here, though. Born in the Central California coastal area, San Luis Obispo. It's beautiful there.
Yeah.
Went to school mostly in San Diego, and that's where I grew to love the ocean. In fact, growing up, everything I've worked on has been a coastal environment. Went to school in San Diego, college degree in architecture. Pursued.
Oh, you're an architect. You have a degree in architecture.
I am. I'm trained as an architect, and I've always been fascinated with the interplay of the water and land where they meet. Got to work for the city of San Diego early in my career. I was an intern there and led a planning effort on the waterfront and regulated and reviewed many projects on the waterfront that we get to enjoy today. And even SeaWorld was one of them.
Oh, really?
The San Diego, UC San Diego campus was another project, new projects I got to work on the campus.
Well, given that, which sounds pretty enticing and a wonderful place to live and grow up, what brought you to Northwest?
Well, our family always vacationed up here, and we'd always said this is the place we would want to be.
Even with all our rain and cloudy days. Huh?
Even with the rain and cloudy days, it has been an adjustment. I enjoy my summers profusely. But the climate here, the environment, it's a very special place. And you don't see that in many areas. Plus, we have the proximity to one of the largest, most beautiful cities in the entire nation, simply a ferry ride away. Yeah. In Seattle, you have access to a major airport and all the amenities, sports teams.
What was your first job up here?
First job was a senior planner for Kitsap County, doing long-range comprehensive planning. Oh. And I got to know the communities all up and down Kitsap County extremely well.
Did you plan that one day Kitsap County would probably double its size in the next 25 years?
I had no idea that would occur.
That's what's going to happen.
That's what's happening on its way.
Think. And you also worked for the City of Port Orchard and the City of Bainbridge,
That's
right?
correct. I was a development director for the City of Port Orchard for quite a while, and also worked as a building official for the City of Bainbridge Island. So I've had my roots into improving the built environment for this community, improving safety, making places better. These are not quick efforts usually. Some of our projects I'm just now starting to see that I worked on 30 years ago. You start to see them actually take place and people start to enjoy the work that you did.
Get them, my experience is also, get them planned is one thing, but then the leadership it requires to go ahead and move them forward,
right?
That's another thing. So you are, with all that background, and obviously you like working in government.
I do.
For the same reasons I've always looked. Because you can get things done for people.
There's an opportunity to give back that you don't get anywhere else. In a government setting, you are working for the people, for the benefit of the community, and that's a powerful
Well,
need.
the other thing is you've worked in Bainbridge Island, you've worked in Port Orchard, and now you're working in for the Port of Bremerton. So you've had quite a varied career here just within Kitsap County. So you know the county.
I have, and as you know, in Kitsap, many of our things are really dependent upon the relationships that we build here.
Well, I keep hearing that we have more waterfront in Kitsap County than any place else. Is that true?
It's more waterfront than any other county in the Washington state. And I know the state has more waterfront than just about every other state in Alaska.
So we're really a community built on the water.
Correct.
Right.
And the port emphasizes that in all of its activities.
So let's talk about the port, your current job. You are the Director of Marine Facilities.
That's correct.
What does that mean?
Well, we have 2 very active recreational marinas on both Port Orchard and Bremerton. I help manage those, conduct the budgets, day-to-day operations, and most importantly, currently we are working on the capital improvements for those facilities.
Port Orchard's a pretty old marina, right?
Port Orchard was built in 1974.
Wow. That was quite progressive.
It
building
was.
a marina in 74.
It was. And she has been a staple for that community, an economic driver, and a recreational access for the entire community.
Well, the marinas on downtown waterfronts like Port Orchard is and Bremerton is, they do support the economy of those downtowns, right?
Absolutely. We bring in tourism to the community. I believe our last report showed at least $10 million a year is brought in solely because of the visiting boaters and the activities that the marinas contribute to those local waterfronts.
And so you're in charge of 2 pretty good-sized marinas. I think you have over 700 slips or something like that.
We have 541, and then we have about 200 guest slips. And those guest slips are for visiting boaters. It's essentially running 2 businesses. One is much like a high-end apartment where you keep your boat. We make sure that it's a wonderful place for you to keep a vessel on a monthly basis. And then our hospitality aspect, where people are visiting much like they do a high-end hotel. They'll dock with their boats. They're on vacation. They're enjoying a new community, and they're exploring the wonderful restaurants, the wonderful shops, the activities and events we have on those waterfronts.
And then you have people actually want to live in the marina, right?
That's correct.
So you call them liveaboards.
We do. We have a strong liveaboard community. We currently have 25 at each marina, and that is their home. That's where they're there every day. They call that home. They live on their vessels, and they watch over the docks, and they're an important part of our community.
So I'm sure they're all sizes, right? I mean, I can't imagine living on a boat, but it's just too small for me. But
right.
And not everyone that's on liveaboard has a big, comfortable yacht.
Well, no, that's the thing with public marinas. We have all sizes, all ranges, and all economic levels enjoying the waterfront, both liveaboard and in the other moorage. It's truly an ability so that it's not just large vessels or yachts. People have very modest boats that they enjoy being on the salt water. They enjoy sailing.
Well, given the price of housing and rent these days, that's probably about as affordable way you can live as living on a marina. Huh?
It is. Most houses don't sink, though. So there is an aspect of maintenance and upkeep on a boat that is ongoing and not inexpensive in itself.
I should know this, but I assume it'd be a liveaboard. You have to have your own toilet on the boat, right?
That's actually not required.
Oh, really?
Because we have amenities at both marinas.
So you provide restrooms?
Restrooms, showers, laundry. We have Wi-Fi, on-site parking. And so both the marinas are quite sufficient for many boaters if they don't want to use their own facilities. Use the upland, and then we have a couple other facilities.
And I'm sure you got a waiting list to get in, right?
We do. Both marinas have been very busy these last few years.
Well, COVID had something to do with that, right? Can you talk about the impact COVID had on boating?
Absolutely. Over the COVID, the inability to do international travel really made boating explode. We had a 30% rise in new purchases for boating.
Wow.
We had an expansion of people wanting to do boating because they could still participate in boating, enjoy the environment, and control their space.
Feel safe.
And comply with all the COVID.
Rather than get on an airplane and go
Correct.
Somewhere.
Exactly. And so boating has exploded.
Well, it's kind of like golf. You know, golf, exploded during COVID. I mean, golf is still busy. Our local golf course here, Gold Mountain, I mean, it's hard to get a tee time anymore.
Right.
So boating's the same way.
It is. And both RVs and boating exploded during COVID. We're still experiencing that expansion. And we're happy to supply that and accommodate that demand. And we've been trying to fill those slips with everyone as they come in, finding every space that we can for them.
Yeah. Do you think that'll continue? What's your prognosis about the future of boating?
It's a changing environment. If you've looked at the demographics, boating has seemed to plateau a bit as far as new purchases. The new generation are not necessarily purchasing boating vessels as they used to, and what they're moving into is a fractional ownership, similar to the Freedom Boat Company or like an Uber, where they use the boats, they pay into a monthly subscription, but they don't actually own those boats individually.
Right. So they're members of an organization that has X number of boats, and they get to schedule them and use them, but they don't have to own them.
Exactly. And it's
So they pay a monthly fee?
They usually do an initiation fee, and they get a certain amount of usage every year. Freedom Boats has been one of our partners on both marinas, and they are expanding, at least adding 4 to 5 boats every year and expanding the number of ownership. What's really surprising is for all the vessels in our marina, most of those vessels are utilized 14 days a year. And
14 days a year.
14 days a year.
Wow.
That's the average. And so our goal is to make those 14 days, they use their vessel the best days of the entire environment. They're enjoying themselves. They're not thinking about work. They're not thinking about the issues at home. They're on the water to enjoy our local community, enjoying our local orcas and the environment and landscape. So our effort is to make that the best 14 days possible.
Has the price of boats gone up?
Absolutely.
Yeah, like housing?
Like housing, like everything else, boating has become much more expensive. And so, the cost of running the marinas also has increased exponentially as all of the inflationary expenses. Fuel specifically is the one that we watch closely.
Yeah.
We're one of the only fuel docks that are in all of South Kitsap County. We have Paulsbo, Brownsville, and Kingston. Those are our other fuel docks. And often we are the only ones for many. We service both the Coast Guard, the Navy, police vessels, and some of the state ferry.
You sell regular gasoline and boat fuel docks, or what is the fuel?
It's ethanol-free gasoline, and then we have diesel. And that's one of our staples, and it is a part of also considered one of our essential facilities for emergency responders. All of the emergency responders have vessels in our marina, including Kitsap County Sheriff, Bremerton Police, Port Orchard Police, Fish and Wildlife. All their vessels are stored.
We have a big manufacturing company over here called Safe Boats.
Yes.
And they produce boats mostly used in military and those kind of things all over the world.
That's correct.
Do they make use of the marina?
Every week. They do their training, their operations, and their testing right here in Sinclair Inlet. They use our boat launch on Water Street and launch the vessels. They test them. They train new personnel with those vessels, and they use the marinas as their access to that water.
That's great. That's one of the reasons they're here.
One of our largest employers, and we welcome them.
No, I think they employ 300 or 400 people. So we've got electric cars. Are we getting electric boats?
We are. They're already being produced. There are a number of electric boats being produced. Kitsap Transit is producing its first ever electric-only ferry to make the run between Bremerton and Port Orchard. We have 2 hybrid ferries already. And all of those have recharging capability. And that's something the port is looking forward to improving our infrastructure to be able to accommodate that future need.
Well, do you think in the next 20 years, you see all these boats the 20 footers or 30 footers, whatever, a lot of those will be electric.
I believe so.
You're going to have to provide, the marina going to have to provide electric plug-ins to power these boats?
Correct. Our recharging capacities will have to be increased to facilitate.
But you won't have a plug-in in every slip. You'll have what? I mean, you'll have a place where people can take their boat and...
We already have plugs in every slip for electric. What we will be doing is upgrading them to the point where we have shoreside facilities for 3-phase power and be able to have the capacities that do quick recharge.
Well, maybe you could do solar paneling on top of your marina.
Absolutely.
Roofs,
That's something we're looking at. We've been investigating thin film because there is a weight. Every one of those covered marina slips is floating on docks. So our weight capacity is fairly limited for that. And then, as obvious, when snow occurs, we also have concerns for that too.
Yeah.
So the thin film wafer for the solar cells is something we're looking for the price to come down for us to do a reasonable approach on those marinas and really give it so that it generates every bit of electricity it uses.
Yeah, because you can see, that's coming.
Absolutely.
Electric boats. Yeah, that's coming. You've got 2 marinas. The Port of Bremerton owns 2 marinas. Is there a different makeup in each marina in terms of kinds of boats that are in there? Are they just kind of... So you're mostly covered in Port Orchard, so you can't have big, tall sailboats. Right?
We have quite a few, about half to about 2/3 are covered in Port Orchard. And they're also smaller slips. We only have a very few 50, 60-foot slips in Port Orchard. Bremerton, our smallest slip is 36 feet, and then we have quite a few of the larger 50 and 60-foot slips. Yeah. So you'll see the breakup of how the boating sizes gravitate towards one marina or another. Many people want to be in Port Orchard, but they're in Bremerton because there's many more boat sizes that fit their needs there. They will be on a wait list and they'll move over whenever they can.
And James, I know this because I see it. You've got a cruise ship coming into Bremerton, right? I mean,
we do.
What's that about?
We're very excited to have the American Cruise Line participating. They do a 10-day Puget Sound cruise where they leave from Seattle and they tour the local communities. They have a 178 occupancy vessel. It's very beautiful and high-end small cruise ship. They visit places like Port Townsend and Friday Harbor and Olympia and Bremerton. And the visitors from those cruise ships are amazed at our local waterways. They enjoy the local communities. They enjoy the events. For Bremerton, many of them have never seen a large Navy vessel. And so it is a...
Turner Joy, they go...
Turner Joy is one of the most popular tours for them, the Puget Sound Naval Museum. We've had others do excursions to the Keyport Undersea Museum. So many of them are exposed to the things that we take for granted in our own backyard that are amazing.
Yeah. I remember the first time I came to Bremerton on the ferry, and I just came over on the ferry and I drove off and I just looked around and I thought, wow, this is unbelievable.
It is.
You've got a city sitting right here on the waterfront. And at the time, we didn't have a marina, and so we worked with the port to build a marina there. And that's a world-class marina.
It is.
Yep.
What's very exciting with that marina is we have a new development coming online next door, the Marina Square development project, which is on formerly port-owned land. We participated in helping that come to fruition.
We did.
They're participating with us in ensuring that we have waterfront parking for that marina, and they will have commercial restaurants and a number of housing units in that development that I think will be amazing when it's complete.
Yeah, and there'll be people there who want to live there because they have a place where they put their boat.
Correct.
Right next door.
Well, many of our vessel owners in Bremerton are actually in Seattle, and with the fast ferries and the access to the marina next door, they love having their vessels on this side of the water. It's much more cost effective for them, and they love already being on this side where they're not dealing with going through locks or the traffic in Seattle. They hop on a ferry, they're in Bremerton, they get to enjoy themselves, and their boat is right there.
Is there any waterway like the Puget Sound in the rest of the country?
There is. The Chesapeake's probably the closest type of waterway. It's not as dramatic as ours. It's a much more flat land where we have the significant rises in the glacier, almost the fjord-like aspect to our local community. That is, other than Alaska, is nowhere else in the country.
Yeah. I've always heard we were the boating capital of the world, or the country, and Florida claims that they're the boating capital.
Right. We're very close, neck and neck. We have quite a few boaters in Washington State, more than you would ever imagine. There was a time when I believe it was a boat for every 3 residents.
Will there ever be, because of environmental regulations and all that, will there ever be more marinas built, do you think, in the Puget Sound region?
Absolutely. I think at some point, it's a little more difficult. A lot more care is being taken to place. We really work closely with our tribal partners.
Yes.
And Suquamish tribal members are, we have dedicated space on the Port Orchard Marina solely for the tribal use,
right,
for their fishing fleets. And we look forward to that partnership as we continue forward.
That's important. I know we promote. Do we use the Seattle Boat Show? Are we a participant in that?
We are. I think we have been a continuous participant for the last 15 years, except for the year of COVID when they didn't operate. When we were a virtual participant that year. It is a powerful place that we interact with new boaters. We have a booth that happens to be across the street from the Seattle Port of Seattle booth, and they talk about their availability, and then they realize it's a 5-year wait in Seattle, and then they come talk to us, and they become our next slip owner over here in Bremerton. So it's been a very successful place to interact with our boating community.
Yeah. Is it one of the largest boat shows in the world?
It is.
It is. Like that? Yeah. And we haven't been going there all that long, I think. I don't know, maybe we have, but I know we've been very active. Let's talk about what are some of the projects that the marinas are facing or being challenged by in the next couple of years.
Sure. Facilities maintenance is one. Really, the Port Orchard Marina, the Breakwater, is nearing 48 years old. It is a major project for us and needs to be rebuilt. It was originally designed for a lifespan of 25 and 30 years, and our maintenance crew has done a heroic job at maintaining it such that we've got another 20 years out of service out of that facility. That's a value to the community, but we're reaching that end of feasibility for use. And we have designs in place. We're in permitting spaces right now. And we've designed a replacement that we're looking to start as soon as construction next year.
Wow. How long will that take?
It's a 2-year construction period. It's a floating breakwater. It mitigates all the waves.
And the public has access to that, right? I mean, you can walk out on the breakwater and go fishing if you want. Right?
Absolutely. We consider it a public park, and that, in the way it was designed and constructed, it has a public access component consistently. Both marinas do. And we take that very strongly and seriously. This is how the communities interact with the public saltwater. And there's fishing. It's a wonderful walking path every morning. And it is open to the public certain hours, 8 to 5 during the winter and 8 to 10 during the summer. So it is a very heavily used space.
Yeah. Have you seen much change in the types of boats that people are buying and owning these days? I mean, I've watched boating, and it seems like there's a million different kinds of boats.
There are.
Is there some market now for certain kinds of boats?
Well,
size-wise,
right.
all that.
It's interesting because it seems as though no one has as much time as they used to. The larger boats, there's being a polarization where boats are getting much larger or they're getting much smaller, but the in-between boats aren't as a strong driver any longer. It seems as though people don't have as much time in their schedules to take for boating as they used to, and you're seeing that where they really want to maximize their time on the water, so their boats are a vessel of size that can accommodate that. It's interesting to watch the demographics. We're watching it closely. It is, smaller boats are becoming more available because they're more expensive and the cost.
What would you say the most popular size boat is? I know that's a hard question, but is it 20-footer?
28 to 32 is the most popular.
Same with sailboats?
Sailboats, about 30 foot for sailboats. Sinclair Inlet, although it has wonderful consistent winds, doesn't seem to be as strong as sailing as somewhere out in Kingston where you can get out easily. Rich Passage is a bit of a navigation for a sailboat to get out every day.
Yeah. Is there anything, we could talk all day about boating in the Northwest, but is there anything I haven't asked you that you'd like to make sure you get on the table here, James?
Well, the marinas, specifically about their importance in the community, they're more than just a place to park boats. They are a focal point for both of our Bremerton and Port Orchard communities. Even our other amenities such as Harper Pier, it's a focal point for that community. It's where they gather, it's where they interact with the natural environment, and it's an economic driver for our local communities. And that's something we are committed to maintaining and enhancing over these years. So we have a long-term goal to make sure that these prosper and that the cities adjacent to them prosper.
Yeah. You know, I think it's a shame when you're a waterfront community that you don't have a marina.
I agree.
You know, if you take Port Townsend or if you take Kingston or if you take, I mean, it's just great that they have these marinas.
They do.
And they give people access to being able to get on the water.
Right.
And they're really important.
There's even an educational aspect. We have our STEM students each year come out with a robotics class. Yeah. They do a ROV underwater where they've designed, built, and are testing these small craft. And that's the experience that they do in our marinas.
Yeah. Well, James, I've enjoyed our conversation. You're certainly a leader in this community.
Well, thank you.
We're a boating community.
We are.
That's for darn sure. I mean, even kayaks you've got coming out. You've got kayaking going on.
Absolutely. Rowing, kayaking, small crafts are a big, powerful point.
Yeah.
You can't leave this county without crossing some body of water. So water is something ingrained in all of ours.
And people that love to fish.
That too.
I mean, I see that every day. So anyway, thank you for sharing the boating story here in the Northwest.
Thank you for having me.
Specifically, the story about the Port Orchard and the Bremerton Marinas and the fact that they're owned and managed by the Port of Bremerton. And so it's good to talk to you.
Thank you.
So we will see you next time on another conversation with a community leader. Thank you for being with us.
Leadership Kitsap is our community's civic leadership program. Leadership Kitsap fosters and empowers educated, prepared, and engaged community leaders. For over 25 years, we have cultivated leaders that work collaboratively to create positive change, dedicated to making our community a better place to work and live. We expose our class to Kitsap's leaders across public, private, and nonprofit sectors. We're happy to bring many of the conversations with these leaders to you. Strong leaders build strong communities.